KPMG, and PwC. James is a Rotarian and is a major donor and a benefactor. He's a board member for Rotary Uganda Limited and a past assistant governor. He's a charter member for the Rotary Club of Kampala Daybreak and was the inspirational president for Rotary year 2018-2019. James served in the Rotary Foundation TRF District 2911 Uganda and Tanzania team and was chair for the TRF dinner 2017-2018. He has attended 3 RI conventions and 8 DCAs. He is a graduate of the Rotary Leadership Institute and a cadre of Technical Advisors, CTA, for the Rotary Foundation of Rotary International. Welcome with me, PhD James Onyoin, as he speaks to us on this amazing topic on how to unlock the potential of your team and transform the organization. You're so welcome, PhD James.
Thank you, Fiona, for that very generous introduction. Good morning, members, and all Rotarians, Rotaractors, guests, and friends of Rotary. Today we're looking at a topic which is really very, very important for all of us. Because I know all of us are leaders. I know Rotarians, for example, are leaders in their own right. We lead organizations in Rotary. We lead teams in our workplaces. We lead teams in our families. Because even at family, there's a team, there's a leader. There has to be some kind of leadership. So our discussion today is around how do you unlock the potential of that team? How do you unleash their potential so they can perform at their best and be the best that they can be, and therefore giving the best results for the organization? And in this case, of course, we're going to be mostly referring to Rotary. You know very well this is a month of giving to the Rotary Foundation. How do you make sure your leaders are inspired enough to recognize why we must give? And how do you make sure that they have the right skills to mobilize resources? Yesterday, I was listening to past District Governor Emmanuel, giving us a very inspirational talk. That's the kind of leadership I'm talking about. A leader who will be able to talk to the teams and inspire them to take action. If it means, like he said, we should not be afraid to give, even if it's 1 shilling to the Rotary Foundation. So how do you give people that? How do you unlock that potential from your teams to go out and be able to mobilize resources for the Rotary Foundation? So our topic is going to start with, first of all, we need to look at what is called, what an expert in leadership, somebody called Simon Sinek, I normally read his books. He says that you must start with the why. That's the starting point for being a great leader, whether it's in Rotary, if you're president of a club, or if you're a director of a club, or if you are chairing a committee on some activity like projects. The first thing you should always start with, why are you doing what you're doing? Because that's very important. If your team does not understand why you are doing what you are doing, then they will not be ignited to be able to do their best. So Simon Sinek says that we must start with the why. You've seen even in organizations, sometimes you ask people, what is the vision of your organization? And they start describing the kind of products they have. Oh, we have very good solar panels, they can last for 40 years and all those kind of things. That's not the why. The why should be, Why do you exist? What is the purpose for which you set up? What problem are you solving in society? If we look at, for example, the Rotary Foundation, the vision of the Rotary Foundation is, together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. So everyone in your team must first understand that we are united to take action and want to create lasting change. Until that is clear to everyone in Rotary, we are not going anywhere. We need to be very clear about that, because all the things we do revolve around that. And that's why, for example, you have those 7 areas of focus, whether it is basic education and literacy, which is our signature project for this year, whether it is improving maternal and child health, whether it is environment and so forth. All those focus areas will bring to light, and they will make sense if we first understand the vision. What is it that we're trying to do? And I want to challenge you, look at your company's vision. Look at your, the good thing, we already have a vision from Rotary International. We should all make sure that, of course, we align our activities to that vision. Make sure everybody understands the vision of Rotary International. That's where you should start from, this conversation. The other one I want to recommend to you is that I want you to be able to lead like a coach. Some of you already know I was trying to find, over the past few years, I was trying to find out what is it that I can do in my organizations. And I've already told you, I'm the managing partner of HLV Jim Roberts and also the CEO of Jim Roberts Consulting Limited. I was looking for what is the approach that will work, that will help me to transform this team at HLV Jim Roberts. And my conclusion, of course, there could be many other approaches, but my conclusion and the approach that we're currently implementing at Jim Roberts is that everyone should lead like a coach. That means you need to have that awareness of how to be a leader that can coach the teams that is working with, and also help each and every person of the team to have that awareness of leading as a coach. To me, that is the magic. That's really the approach that I recommend. And most of the things we are going to discuss are going to revolve around that. What we have done at my farm, for example, every staff has to be attached to a mentor who will guide him through the process of his career development or her career development. And also, we've provided coaching opportunities for our staff. I remember very well that myself, I grew up through the ranks without ever getting a coach in a deliberate way. But what we're trying to do is everyone should have that opportunity to get somebody who can coach them, somebody you can bounce your ideas to and help you to shape your future and the way you are going to do things. So what does that involve? One, if you're going to be a coach, you need to be able to build trust, because the people you are coaching must trust you. They must believe what the direction that you are taking them. And of course, the trust will facilitate the conversations, the communications within the organization. And I can assure you, for your team to be transformed, you should be able to facilitate easy communication within the organization. Because some of the best ideas, some of the most innovative ideas can come from even somebody who's a cleaner, somebody who has the lowest rank in your organization, probably. So this is the way you can be able to unlock the potential of your team. Now, you need also to create commitment. And how do you do that? As you engage your staff, as you engage your team members in Rotary, if you're a director, let's say for projects or for family, you need to be able to ask people powerful questions that create commitment. And you must listen to what they say. Most of us want to talk. Most of us want to tell people what to do. That does not unlock that potential within the team or within the member. As a leader, be able to listen. Talk less, ask questions, and listen. Sometimes I have had some of my managers who would have challenge, but who tried to change that, who would have challenge delegating, for example, because you have this fear that if you give somebody to do the work, maybe they will delay, they will take longer, they will make you miss the deadline. But you see, you've got to invest in the person by giving them the opportunity to think and to try out getting solutions. And you just encourage them to do that. Sometimes you may even know the approach, but you encourage them to research until they get to how that particular thing should be done. So that becomes extremely critical. The other one is that during your process of execution, because at the end of the day, whatever the person you are coaching has caught up with, has picked up, you need to translate into action, and you need to get results. And one of the biggest problems I've seen, especially with millennials, I hope any millennial here will not be offended. Some of the millennials spend so much time on WhatsApp, on social media. You have to encourage your team to get what they call a flow state as they do the execution. That is, you must set aside a certain time to concentrate on the job at hand and be able to do that work. And once you encourage them to do that, then they become more efficient. They become more proficient in what they do. Personally, I'll give you my experience. For me, if I'm going to do a piece of work, I even put aside my phone for 1 hour or so. I concentrate on the job, and then I will call back whoever was calling me. Oh, you were calling me, what was the issue? And you still talk to the person anyway. But if you keep picking calls, seeing notifications coming on your laptop, you will not have the level of concentration that will enable you to be very productive. So these are the kind of virtues you need to instill in your team. And that, of course, comes with time and giving them that awareness. Now, coaching requires credibility and the ability to challenge a client's attitude. Your client, of course, your team member or your team as a whole. So as a leader, you must lead by example. And that means if you are a leader of, you are the director for the Rotary Foundation, you must develop the right character and competence. People must see that James is a person of character. They must believe you. You cannot tell people that contribute to the Rotary Foundation, and yourself, you are not contributing even $1. I'm not saying you should contribute the biggest amount, but at least contribute what you can. That's the way you lead. That's the way you develop character. And that creates credibility. That becomes extremely important. Please warn me 5 minutes to the stop so that I know. How many minutes do I have, by the way, Mr. President? Oh, moderator.
You have 10 minutes, 10 more minutes.
Thank you. Okay, just warn me 5 minutes to the close. Yes, so the other thing I would like to share with you is that you need to manage the day-to-day without losing sight of the long term. Sometimes in these organizations, as we are working with our teams, we tend to focus on short-term results because, you know, my results for this particular time, I'm supposed to maybe bring in business of, I don't know, maybe 100 million or whatever. And you focus only on that. You need to be looking at the big picture as well. What is it you want? Where do you want to take the organization in 5 years' time? And that should also be brought into onto the table as you think. Because if you continue just chasing short-term results, at the end of the day, you will end up not being a sustainable. You will not build a sustainable team, a sustainable organization. So if you lead like a coach, you will then be able to focus and get the balance between short-term results and long-term aspirations of the organization. So that becomes something that's useful. So you need to help your team members clarify their personal and professional missions and outline their strategies, the strategies for achieving them. Sometimes you will find that staff are just thinking of their own things, or your team members are thinking of their own things. You have to align them to the purpose of the organization. Talk to them and understand what are their personal, professional missions, and how do you help them to achieve that? Because by doing that and aligning it with the organizational purpose, then you will be able to take the organization to a greater height. And of course, don't forget the work-life. People used to call it the work-life balance, but my mentor, Dr. Pique, told me that he should be talking about work-life integration. So sometimes you need to see how the various parts of your life come together. James, as a family man, husband and father, and James, who's a professional accountant or who's a professional coach. How do you make sure those come together? So that becomes important, and you need to encourage your staff to be aware of, your teams to be aware of those things. How do they make sure all these balls are in the air? So you need to help that to go towards that achievement. The other thing is that the best feedback normally you give, the best feedback that you can give is that which comes directly from the client's mouth. So those who are coaches here, I've seen coaches like Herbert Olo and others, know very well that when you are going through a coaching process, you have to make sure that you ask questions and encourage the person to reflect on their own and come up with their own solutions. You don't give them the answers, but taking them through that process of them being able to reflect and come to a possible solution themselves is the best way that you can get the feedback from this person. Because once they have said it themselves and they have figured it out themselves, they will be more committed to implement it, and there lies the secret to success. Focus on the positive and play to people's strengths. I remember one time we had a conversation here by Ruchira Chakravarti, our strategic partner who's based in India, and she talked about leading with strengths. How do you tap into people's strengths? Of course, a lot of research has been done on this by people like Dr. Clifton, who even came up with the Clifton Strengths Test, which you can undertake as an individual or as a team. If they can undertake that kind of test, then you will be able to focus on their strengths. The problem with our traditional appraisal systems, for example, they normally try to find out what did you do well, and then what are your weaknesses or areas of improvement. And then they say, okay, let's come up with a performance improvement plan to fix your weaknesses. The focus should not be fixing people's weaknesses. The focus should be, how does each individual in your team identify their strengths? And how do you help them to build on those strengths? That should be the direction to take. And for weaknesses or areas of improvement, you just need to manage them. Research was done in Nebraska, in the US, for example, at one point in the 50s and 60s, and they found out that if you focus on somebody's strengths, they become better and better in what they do because they already have talent in that particular area. Other than trying to train James, who does not have maybe the talent of being an athlete, and you think I can run like, Michael Jordan or somebody. I may not, but I could be having talent in a particular field, build talents along that. That's also the problem we've been having with our education system. We don't have a mechanism of identifying what is this child good at? How can we encourage him to go in that direction? For us, we've seen cases where parents just say, you must become a doctor. You must become an accountant. You must first identify what are these people's, what is this person's talent, and then you can invest in the talent so that it can become a real strength. Okay. The other thing I wanted to talk about is that as a coach, of course, I'm assuming that you'll all be coaches. I'm not saying you should undergo professional training as a coach like I did and qualify in it, but you can lead like a coach. A great coach taps the stores of innate talent and helps move the middle towards greatness. So how do you do that? Inspire behaviors and attitudes needed to bring these talents and strengths to light. So you need to be able to inspire behaviors and attitudes that will help to bring those talents that we talked about into light. And I really encourage all of you to try to find out what are your talents and how can you develop those talents. Like I said, you can get a coach to take you through that process. You can undertake those strengths tests. Actually, Dr. Clifton came up with about 4 domains of where the strengths lie and about 34 different strengths. Because you'll find some people are strong in execution, others are strong in strategic planning, others are strong in interpersonal relations. So you can have different types of strengths. So you need to discover your strengths and then build on those strengths. That is how you can become the best you can be. And it's even better if you can do it for your team, if you can afford, and if you're leading an organization and you all go through this process. So you know what are the strengths of each of the person in your team and how do you deploy them to optimize the kind of results that you can get from your team. Lastly, I want us just to reflect on, because here we're talking about you being a great leader so that you can be able to transform your team. How would you be able to do that? I wanted also us to look at what John C. Maxwell gave us. He gave us what he called the 5 levels of leadership. And in that model of the 5 levels, he says that when you are just a level 1 leader, that's the lowest level. At that point, somebody is just relying on his position. I'm the managing director of this place. I'm the president of this club. That's not enough. That's a position. Don't just rely on your management position. Inspire others by giving your personality and core values to your leadership role. So don't rely on your position. Don't remind people that I'm the managing partner, I'm the CEO of Jim Roberts Consulting Limited. They already know that. What you need to bring onto the table is your personality and core values, which can inspire people to follow you and inspire people to do their best and to discover what they are best at. If you're a level 2 leader, according to John C. Maxwell, it means you have reached a point where you are able to get permission from people to lead them. So you need people's permission to lead them. That means you build trust and positive relationships to make the best of your leadership. So if you're a level 2 leader, it means you have reached a point where at least you are able to create those relationships where people start trusting you. Now, for a level 3 leader, if you're a level 3 leader, that means you are able to take your organization, to take your team. It could be a project directorate within the Rotary Club. If you are the director of TRF, for example, it means you are producing the right results. If your target was to raise $10,000 for this year, it means you are able to inspire your team to the point where they are able to go out there and talk to fellow colleagues and work out ways of mobilizing funds. It might not be just from members. You could be talking to organizations on how you can raise money for the Rotary Foundation. It could be talking to other organizations so that they can work with you, like we're doing with IREAD, Institute of Rural Education and Development, to build facilities for early childhood development. So you will be that kind of leader who's able to show results. A good team needs a good leader to chart the course to success. Great leaders produce results by setting an example to their team and creating a wave of momentum. So what I'm saying here is that to be a great leader, you must lead by example. I said it earlier that for the Rotary Foundation, which we are talking about this month, you should be able to set an example. I'm not saying you should make the biggest contribution to the Rotary Foundation. Yesterday, we were listening to Governor Emmanuel, and he said, our colleague, Peter Mukuru, I don't know whether he's in this call, may not have given the biggest contribution to the Rotary Foundation this year in terms of money, but he applied this knowledge as an IT expert and was able to relay the Rotary Foundation activities to the whole world. And what happened? This touched many people around the world, and we were able to raise a lot of money for the Peace Center at Makerere. So this is what leadership is about. Being able to give an example. So if you are the TRF director, make sure you are able to inspire the team to be able not only to contribute themselves, but to go out to other members, to other Rotaractors, and also to the public, appealing to the organizations and mobilizing resources. You remember how Governor Emmanuel told us he mobilized about 25 non-Rotarians and asked them to contribute to the Rotary Foundation. And more than, I think 12 of those gave more than $10,000. And some of them gave $250,000 to the Rotary Foundation. That's leadership. It means you are past that productivity level. Maxwell also told us that when you're a level 4 leader, it means as you are leading your teams, you are able to foster personal development throughout the team. It could be the projects team, it could be the Rotary Foundation team, it could be in Jim Roberts, it could be a team of consultants working on share evaluations, or a team of consultants working on, let's say, a specific assignment. Now, you need to foster personal development of those teams. That's why, for example, I'll share with you at Jim Roberts, we made it a culture that every Friday afternoon, we do training, we do personal development, not only in technical areas, but even in soft skills. How to lead a team? What are your interpersonal skills and so forth? Because we want our leaders to be level 4 leaders at least. So that's the point at which you are able to foster personal development throughout the teams. And the teams are able to develop each other, to coach each other, to mentor each other, and give you the best results that can be given. If you're a level 5 leader, you'll judge yourself which level you are in, each of us on this call, and maybe during the comments, you can tell me where you lie and where you aspire to be. If you're a level 5 leader, that means you are now in the business of developing future leaders. And this is the pinnacle of leadership, because this is what creates lasting legacy. If you're a leader as a president of a Rotary Club, how are you inspiring others to become presidents of the Rotary Club? If you are the CEO of Jim Roberts Consulting, are you having a succession plan? Which people are ready to step in if something happened to you or if you retire? Yeah. So that's the kind of thing, the kind of level that I expect all of us to be aspirant to be in. If, for example, I remember very well when I was handing over to the next president of the Rotary Club of Kampala, Daybreak, I was told that my success will only be judged by how successful the incoming president was going to be. And that's how you tell good leaders. But if you say, I'm the founder, I'm the managing partner of Jim Roberts Consulting Limited, and behave as if you'll be here forever, then you are not building an organization that will create a lasting legacy. You must create a pipeline of leaders who can be either performing at your level or even better than you. So that should be the objective of you as a person. So I wasn't warned whether it is 5 minutes to go, but I want to say that this is where I want to stop, because I want to reserve a lot of time for us to have a conversation around what can we do to really inspire our teams, to be able to ignite them to unlock their potential, so that we're able to transform the organizations that we lead. Because if we do this, then we wouldn't even be struggling raising money for the Rotary Foundation, because everyone will know why we are here. Why was Rotary set up? What is it that we're targeting? We have a common line of sight, and therefore we'll be able to achieve the results that the Rotary International and the Rotary has set out to do in our own clubs, in our district, and as Rotary International the world over. Thank you very much, Mr. President. I would like to stop there. I want to reserve more time for interaction. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Indeed, you still had a few more minutes. But it's good that you, well, a couple
Oh, sorry, Mr. President, I can't hear you.
Go, that's probably some leave behind. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, it has improved now, but I didn't hear anything. Maybe you'll repeat, Mr. President.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
All right. Okay. Looks like I lost the device. Okay. Thank you very much, PAG James, Dr. James Onyoin, for that powerful talk. At this point in time, I would like to welcome none other than our own P. Dorothy Achan to take us through the question and answer session. Over to you, Dorothy.
Thank you, President. Good morning, friends. My name is Dorothy, and I'm going to take you through the Q&A. Thank you, Past Assistant Governor James Onyoin, for unlocking our potential in leadership. And I believe you've transformed our organizations already. Members, if your hands are up, please unmute yourself and ask your question. I don't see a hand up. Any question for our, yes, our CMP Frederick, please go
on. Thank you very much, Dr. James, my mentor. And my question really rotates around the reality, and in most cases, unlocking someone's potential, in my view, has a lot to do with their willingness and commitment for you as a leader to unlock their potential. What do you do in a situation where you have a lot of resistance, you have a lot of hesitancy from the team members whose potential you seek to unlock for the development of the organization? Thank you.
Please, Doctor, go on and respond to that as I get more questions.
Okay, thank you very much. That's really good. Of course, what we are talking about here, I mean, in 20 minutes, we are just scratching the surface. But when you go into the details of a coaching program, you will also see that you will go through things like how do you help your team member? How do you help somebody within your team to have the will and intentionality? How do you unleash that will and intentionality? That's a whole subject of its own. And recently we've been running some programs, and I will be running again some programs. Our business partner, Ruchira, I think she's on the call. Ruchira, are you on the call?
Yes, James, I'm here.
Yes, can you just tell them about our programs on will and intentionality, because we'll be running them at the end of this month when you are in the country.
Yes, and very, very good morning to everybody in Kampala. I am dialing in from India, Bangalore, and very delighted to be with all the Rotarians and Rotaract here. We run a series of leadership programs which are specifically meant for senior executives. They are meant for, I wouldn't say just senior executives. They are meant that it's meant for anybody who is interested in making a difference in their lives and the life of other people. So on 2nd December, we have a program called Moving from Authority to Influence. And there we actually talk about blockers, roadblockers for ourselves and roadblockers in the form of resistance. And Frederick brought this point out. How do you figure out what do you do with people when you find resistance, right? So resistance, the trick about resistance is that it is resistance to something and resistance towards something. And a lot of the time, resistances come from bias. A lot of the time, resistance comes from assumptions and prior experience. And we have to honor those resistances, understand them. That is the only way people will move from strong will. And I have come to Kampala and I've seen the will of people in Kampala. It's a very, very, very powerful will. But to move it to willingness, which means to take out the resistance from the process, that will take a little bit of time. It will take shaping of our own understanding and attitudes. It will also take the shaping of the attitudes and understanding and mindset of people around us. So it is slow work, it is intentional work, but it is very, very meaningful work. So we will be there. I will be there, and I'm happy to meet individuals as well while I'm in Kampala. Of course, I'm going to be with James, so please feel free to ping me. I'll be more than happy to meet with you. Frederick, I'm looking forward to meeting you again.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Frederick, for that question. It was actually very, very critical. Look out for the flyers I'll be sharing with you. We'll be running a series of programs on taking you deeper into some of these concepts. You know, will and willingness. How do you traverse from authority to influence and all those kind of things? Looking at what are the sub-personalities that we have as individuals. So we'll be running these programs. Ruchira is landing here on the 29th, and between 29th and around 8th or 9th, we'll be having some programs. So please feel free to join these programs. We'll put the necessary information on the flyers. And then it's very important as a leader to develop yourself and to be aware of these things and intentionally implement them. So that's something that's coming up very shortly. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nyai. We have another question, 2 other questions. Please unmute, Rotarian Isra. And after you, we have Rotary actor David to come in.
Morning, Rotary actors and members on call. Thank you for the chance to speak. I'd like also to appreciate Doctor's presentation today. It's quite enlightening. My question is, my experience in Uganda, I think most of us, is sometimes we are not so lucky to have the right talent. And I'm wondering, how do you approach a situation whereby the talent is not viable? Because you mentioned that we should magnify our people's strength. But now what if those strengths and talents are not viable for the kind of organization you have? How do you deal with that? If you could also talk about how to get buy-in from members of your team, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank
David,
you.
please take it on.
Hello, was my question heard?
Yes,
Yes.
I had your question, but I'm just waiting for the moderator to flag me off to answer, or I wait for others.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's take a second one.
Good morning, Rotarians and Rotaractors, as guests on call. My personal observation is, PAG, I'm a fan of fellowship via Zoom. It is a pleasure that I happen to meet you people of great importance and integrity. But my dismay now arises, there are great topics that are discussed here, that we Rotaractors need them more. Because Uganda sayings is akacha mama merabo kagoranga bugenzi kamenyika umenyesi. So we need these services as now in our Rotary clubs, so that by the time we graduate into Rotary, we are at a smooth running. Kindly, how can you extend such service to our clubs? David Musoke from Monsanji. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Dr. James, you can take those two first.
Yes, thank you very much, most appreciated. I will start with the question on talent. If you see that you are stuck with the wrong, with people who don't have the talent for that you think can be converted into a strength and improve the organization. Now, first of all, this is one thing that most of us don't normally look at. What we are trying to do, for example, in my farm now, is to manage the entry. It's very important, whoever you are going to recruit into your organization, you are very sure that this person has the right talents that you are looking for. Sometimes people just hurriedly go through the recruitment process. I've seen in some organizations where people even bring somebody because it is their brother, their sister. That's not the point. If you are talking about building an organization which will create legacy, you must make sure that before even you think about recruitment, you must profile exactly what kind of skills do we need and what kind of individuals will have this kind of skills. So you have to control quality at the gate. It becomes extremely, extremely important. So I urge all the leaders here, even Rotary, we've seen cases where, people are just inducted within 2 days, within 1 day. They have not been taken through what is the vision of Rotary. What do we stand for? What does it mean to be a Rotarian? How can you create an impact, a lasting impact in our communities as Rotarians? Somebody has not been taken through that. That's why that process of, induction is very critical. You must make sure somebody goes through that. That's why I'm happy with Daybreak of late. I think the last few years, we've really been taking people through a very good formal induction process. And I'm also happy that some Rotarians within our club, for example, have now started doing the Rotary Leadership Institute, where I'm also a graduate. It's very important for people to understand what your organization is. I know of Rotary clubs where you cannot be admitted. Yes? Were you saying something, Mr. President? Yeah. You cannot be admitted unless you first go through the Rotary Leadership Institute. I've seen those clubs. When I was doing my graduate studies with the Rotary Leadership Institute, some of the members from one of these Rotary clubs I know at least, yes, were not Rotarians, but they were being inducted and they had to go through the Rotary Leadership Institute. So you need to do that, because once somebody is in, it's very difficult to get them out. And of course, you'll need a different set of skill to be able to also say, well, I think you don't fit here. We ask you to try your talents elsewhere. So actually, I remember one of the great leaders in the US, I forget the name, he was asked, what is your best skill? I think it was either Bill Gates or one of those. They asked him, what is the best skill that you have? He said, my best skill is knowing whom to hire and whom to fire. That's all. He knows whom to hire and whom to fire. And that's it. And that makes his organization a great organization. The other one is about buy-in. You will always get buy-in if you involve people in everything you do right from the beginning. People are brilliant. Don't underlook the people you work with. Ask them what they think can be done, how it could be done, what could work better. You will get those ideas from the people. And once you get ideas from your team, and they see that you actually respect the ideas and you have incorporated the ideas in what you are going to do, they will be more committed to doing that thing. Finally, talking to Rotaractors. I can assure you, I'm one of those people who are willing to go and talk to Rotaractors. Just invite me. I've left my number and email on the group. Anytime you need me to come and talk to you, I'll be available. At Jim Roberts, we also give opportunities. We've been working with Vijana Power, with the Rotary Roses. We give opportunities for people to come and train with us, those who are accountants. Like now, if you're a qualified accountant, you have CPA, you have SCCA, just give me a call. We can talk. We can give you opportunities to advance your career. But we need you to be a qualified accountant. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James. Before I take the last two questions, allow
Dorothy,
me.
may I propose that we handle the next few questions after the meeting during the Chimiza session? I'm assuming that PhD James will be gracious to give us a few minutes after.
Mr. President, I have no track record of disobeying the president's instructions. I will obey.
Thank you. So I would request that the Q&A we pause for now. We will have a more engaging time after the meeting. This time, I would like to call upon none other than IPP Frederick to give us a vote of thanks.
Just a moment. Thank you very much, amazing President Edward and the team, for finding me worthy to move a vote of thanks to such an inspirational and insightful presentation, of course, made by our very own Dr. James Onyuen. We want to say thank you very, very, very much for this enlightening presentation, for the fact that Rotarians and Rotaractors, we are all leaders in respect in different capacities. So this is very, very insightful, very helpful. The revelation that everything starts with the why. for me, is a game changer. In fact, some people say that if you know the why, you'll always figure out the how. So thank you very, very, very much. Again, challenging us to really find out what level of leadership we stand is indeed very good self-reflection. That is a call for us to also get challenged to grow to the different levels. But the target as Rotarians, I believe that we should all be level 5, where we get to grow more leaders. Everyone needs a coach. Indeed, thank you very, very much for challenging us so that we are able to win a trust, we are able to unlock people's potential, but also challenging us to listen a little more as we seek to unlock the potential of our team members, and we should be able to guide the execution. Yes, we continue to look forward to learn more from you in this area. Like one of the questions came across, this is a very, very good area that we would seek a little more insight and knowledge into. So thank you very much, James, and for the great presentation that you have made. With your permission, Mr. President, allow me request colleagues on call to unmute, and it is okay to give a very good hand clap of appreciation, and even much better, the Kalulu from the Maga Maga region in appreciation of our guest speaker.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you for a befitting vote of thanks. And Kalulu. Friends, we are out of time, so I'll just request that we share with you the statistics through our social media channels. And I would, at this point, request Rotarian Lynn to give us the final toast.
Thank you, President. Good morning, Rotarians, Rotaractors, and our guests. We have had a very informative talk. Thank you, PDG James. I have come to realize from what we get, we can make a living. What we give, however, makes a life. Therefore, for this wonderful informative fellowship, we have really enjoyed it, and let us toast Rotary International.
Rotary the world over.
Thank you. The world over. The world over.
The world over.
Amazing. Great. Thank you very much, Rotarian Lynn, for leading us to the end of our meeting today. And as promised, the Chimeza session is open. I don't know how many minutes you're giving us today, PAG James, to respond to some of those burning issues.
Mr. President, you have a blank check for up to 30 minutes.
All right, colleagues, I think let's do 10 minutes of Chimeza. Otherwise, we are grateful that you're able to join us today. For those that classification is calling, you're free to leave. If you still have a few more minutes, we'll be glad to still be with you. Over to you, Dorothy, if you're still with us, to lead us through the Chimeza session. Dorothy, are you still with us? Okay, looks like Dorothy has already checked out for her classification. We have a hand up, Rotarian Penny. Please submit. I can see your hand is up.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you, PAG James, for your insightful presentation. You have indeed incited us into looking carefully at our leadership skills. I'm also very glad to see you after many, many years. We worked together in Uganda Revenue Authority. My question is, how do you deal with a very efficient member of your team, but who is not a good team player?
All right, PAG James, let's take maybe one or two more before you can respond. Epi Maureen, please submit, then Rotarian Nachitende.
Thank you so much for the very insightful presentation. My question is, how do we deal with people who still think that leaders, and in this case, I'll broaden it to other soft skills, not just leadership skills, that they are not born, but they are made? Because we have people who think, I don't have mobilization skills, I don't have speaking skills, I don't have team building skills, and have laid back and not come to be coached because they think these skills are born and not made. Thank you.
Thank you. Rotarian.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you so much, PAG James. Now, James, oftentimes there are people in an organization who are not rewarded properly. Rewarding should not be in terms of raising someone's salaries. Someone may have the capacity to influence others, but then they're not rewarded with the authority to do so. What is your take on this? Thank you.
Okay, PAG, I think you can respond to those.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to believe you are hearing me well. Yeah, a question from my former colleague, Penny, if I got the name right. It was nice seeing you also after very, very many years. I hope one of these days we'll have a cup of tea after this Ebola has removed the scare.
I look forward to that.
Thank you. We should for sure. Now, if somebody is very efficient, but is not a good team player, sometimes what we have done is you need to take this person through a leadership development program. Because through the leadership development program, they will start understanding that for them to go higher than where they are, they have to learn to work with others. It's not possible to. I remember one time when I was appointed project manager by the Accountant General, Minister of Finance. Actually, I was called Public Financial Management Systems Manager. He called me to his office and said, James, there's something I want you to be aware of. He told me that you have been a technical person. You were one of the most skilled financial management specialists running Oracle and all these systems. But what I'm asking you now to do is to make sure you can empower other people. You are in your team so that you work with them, you inspire them to do the work that you used to do and give the best results. So in other words, he was telling me that it's no longer enough to rely on your technical competence. It is time for you to step out and see how you can empower others to become technically good, become good leaders. And your role is really to make sure you are giving direction and inspiration to the team. That's your biggest job now as a leader. So that's what happened. This person may not have reached that level of awareness. If he wants to work alone, to be on his own and things like that. So you need to take this person through, give them a chance, take them through a leadership development program. And of course, if you expose them to coaching, the better, and mentoring. So they will be able to pick up some of these skills. Now, you might say, well, some people work well in a corner and things like that. You will need to see how you utilize your team. Sometimes you may need to see how you sometimes you may need to see how you make the best use of the available team. Because in your team, some people will be good in interpersonal relationship, others will be good in execution, others will be good in strategic thinking. We have seen cases where some people are very good in bringing new ideas, very brilliant ideas, but they can't implement them themselves. So if you are leading a team, you need to know what strengths does each of these have. So if for example, somebody might be very good technically, but is not good as yet, because for my belief, everybody can become a good leader, so long as they're taken through a good, so long as they have the right attitude and they're taken through a good leadership development program. All those things will eventually go out. Those tendencies of wanting to work alone, wanting to cling on to your assignments, not sharing with others, not delegating. All those are just leaderships of, they are signs of leadership knowledge gaps, not knowing what is supposed to be done. So taking this person through that program, especially if they have the right attitude, will be very useful. And sometimes if they have a wrong attitude, take them through a coaching program. They will start reflecting on themselves and seeing what is the right thing to be done. I think that's what you should do. I wouldn't recommend you to fire them quickly, but give them the opportunity, try to develop them, try to see. If they have the right attitude, they will get on the right line. Of course, if they have a wrong attitude and you take them through a coaching program and nothing is working, maybe that's not a good member for your team. But give it your best shot. Maureen says, some people say leaders are born, but they are not made. I remember these are the kind of discussions we had in our management classes at BCom at the very beginning. But let me tell you one thing. Okay, it is true there are some people who have natural talent for leadership. That is true. It is very, very true. But one thing I know about leadership is that all of us, so long as you put your effort to learn and to practice, you can be a great leader. All of us. It is just a level of awareness that we need to raise. If you raise your level of, Dr. Bob Proctor, one of the American thought leaders, said, you need to change your paradigm. If you're able to shift your paradigm to look at things in a certain way, you become a good leader. So it's through conscientious learning, continuous development as a leader, that will take you where you want. So all of us can train and become good leaders. You can be mentored, you can be coached until you become a good leader. That's possible. That's why we have these great management schools. That's why we have these leadership programs. Like I told you, we're currently running a lot of leadership development programs, which are backed by a lot of coaching at Jim Roberts and Coach Koeja, our partner from India. So these programs are available. You can be taken through a program and you become a good leader, you become a great leader. So do not say that for me, I was not born a leader. Nobody is born a leader. You can be born with that talent, but if you don't invest in it, because you must invest in a talent to convert it to a strength. If you don't invest in it, you will not be a great leader. So your level of awareness needs to be at a certain level. Like I told you, Dr. Bob Proctor said, you must change your paradigm. My friend Nulu from Muyenga, thank you so much for joining us. I'm happy you are always with us. If somebody is not well rewarded, it's just like saying, if I'm just leading a small team, I'm a small fish in the pond. I have my small team. I'm leading 2 people in tax department at HLB Jim Roberts. And you know, what do I do? What my encouragement is, each of us is a leader. Each of us in Rotary is a leader. It's not only the president. You could be heading, let's say, a directorate for, you know, Family of Rotary, a directorate for the Rotary Foundation. You could be leading just a team of 2 people who are working on a proposal. Now, wherever you are, apply your leadership skills to your best. Because whatever small contribution you can make can change the world. It may not be apparent in the beginning, but if you can make your contribution at your level, that's how we change society. I remember one time, I think it was at Kololo Independence Ground, the late Honorable Right Speaker, Jacob Olanya, said, until we all recognize that we're all corrupt, we will not deal with the issue of corruption. So it has to start with you. Wherever you are, if your conviction is that we must fight corruption, which I hope it should be, start with yourself. Do not give a bribe to somebody. Do not receive a bribe from somebody. That's where it starts. And if 2, 3, 5, 10, 100, 1,000, 10 million of Ugandans do that, Uganda will become a corrupt-free society. That's how it works. Start from where you are. Don't say, I've not been given the opportunity to give this leadership skill to the entire organization. Start from the people you can influence. And I can assure you, I've seen leaders, you know about informal leaders. I've seen people who emerge as leaders, and they start actually influencing what decisions are made in the organization when they don't have a formal title. He's not the director, audit, he's not. But the kind of way he deals with other people in his circles is such that they start believing him or her. They start getting inspiration from him or her. And before you know it, those people have a lot of influence and they can actually impact the organization. So do not wait to be given authority. You can actually influence without having a legal authority. In the past few weeks, I think past few months, Professor Balunya has been taking us through. I hope you attend this Saturday morning sessions with Professor Balunya. He has been talking us about how to deal with rebel leaders. You know, you can have people who have very radical ideas within the organization. Those are also there. How do you deal with them? If you're a good leader, you don't dismiss them. You try to understand them. You try to see where they're coming from and what is it that you can pick from them that could benefit the organization. So a leader has to have a skill of nurturing all these things and bringing them to the benefit of the organization, be it a Rotary Club or a company or even your home. So if you're, of course, the leader, I expect you to be able to reward these people, to give them, to recognize them, to help them go up in their career. But if, unfortunately, you don't have that type of leader, use the influence you have with the circles around you and exercise your leadership. Because leadership basically means inspiring others, motivating others. You can be inspirational, you can be motivational, even when you don't have a title. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, PAG James, for the responses, very appropriate responses. Thank you very much. And that brings us to the end of our Chimeza session. Thank you for those who have managed to stay with us throughout this session. I wish you a great day and a great week ahead.
Mr. President, I also want to mention that I've already shared the presentation on the chat. You can download it before the session is switched off. So you can actually download the presentation. I'll put the mind map on the chat.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
I saw some people were requesting for the presentation. I hope you've seen it. You can give a few minutes to download.
Oh, where is it?
It is in the chat. In the chat,
PAG,
you just download it as a file.
Can you resubmit it?
I resubmit.
It? Yes.
Okay. Let me try again.
The PDF file.
Yeah, it's a PDF, yes. I've shared it again.
Okay.
I've shared it again.
Okay.
But it was shared earlier, but I've shared it again.
Yes. Thank you. Colleagues, you can download it. It is now the last item in the chat lounge. Oh, okay. Looks like
somebody still can't see the. Okay, I will send a presentation to the president on email, and then he can share on WhatsApp and email, and then he can share it with the members. I hope to reach you. I'm sure if you leave your contacts here, they will send it to you. But I will share it with the president. But of course, the live recording is available on the YouTube channel, which is also on the flyer which you used to enter here. There's a link at that flyer. It will take you to our YouTube channel. But certainly I will share the presentation with the president and the club administrator, and they will find a way of sending it to you. Thank you very much. It has been very nice and very warm, actually, interacting with you. And you give me a ray of hope. And I can tell Nulu that my contribution to the world is that if I can engage as many people as possible, and a few of them buy these ideas, then we can be able to change the world one person at a time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, PhD James, for sharing with us. Thank you for being generous with your time and knowledge. All right. See you soon.